So go ahead, Stephanie.
Great. Thank you, Kath, so much. Hey, everybody. I'm Stephanie Jenkins with Remax Connection and Stephanie Jenkins Home Group. I'm a licensed real estate agent in Ohio, and I've also had my license in California and in Florida. It's funny because a lot of people think about the Ohio-Florida love affair. I've moved a lot of people to Florida that they've sold in Ohio. Another great way to find property when people retire and decide that they're leaving their bungalow of 50 years to go south. My real estate firm, I have my license and several designations in different areas. I'm a licensed HUD bidder broker, HUD being another topic we'll talk about tonight in finding properties. I have a team that works with me for a title company, a team of real estate agents, 2 that are licensed that work directly with me. My sister's a licensed real estate agent, and my father, my biological father, actually owned half of everything at Ohio State University for decades, a long, long time. And I think that's where I think there's a lot to be said for where we get our passion for things. And real estate is just a complete love of what I do. And tonight I'm going to talk about ways to find the property, the first F in this series. There are so many ways, and Kathy and I normally meet in person the first week of every month, and gosh, it's incredible. It's a packed house every single time. So many people to talk to, meet, and network with. People that I've met before COVID-19 are already closing even on their second properties, others going to first and to second and flipping, others buying rental properties and moving renters into them. It's extraordinary what we've seen happen. So it's a little different with COVID, but everything we pray will all come back together and we'll be able to move through this. And there's a lot to be done from home, even during COVID. And when it comes to finding properties, guys, I'm going to talk about a huge list of ways to find properties. And a lot of them you may have heard of, and I'm going to go into some detail, and then I'm going to offer to email any of you details on every single topic that we go into. These are not going to be in any particular order, but they're going to hit in a range of a whole array of methods, from in-person to mail to realtor to websites to internet to socially driving. And you've heard about a lot of these terms. So the first one I'm going to start with is definitely, and you can go to any website on the internet right now. I'll just use, there's a lot of investor websites on the internet, and they'll all tell you, YouTube or the internet, and I'm not saying it because I'm a realtor, but I'm first going to bring up the first major way to look for property, and it is through the MLS and through real estate websites is the first major way to find property. If you were to ignore looking at property that way, you just probably miss 90% of the property available to you to buy. So with the MLS, the multiple listing service, you have to be a paid licensed realtor member to belong to the MLS services across the nation. But I want to point something out for that. There's only one website in the nation that pulls its data directly from the local MLS boards across the state of Ohio and across the nation, guys. It's not Zillow, it's not Google Homes, it's not Trulia, it's Realtor.com. Realtor.com is owned by the National Association of Realtors. This is hugely important. It's updated every 6 minutes, and you can sort things on Realtor.com. You can sort them for investment opportunity, bank owned. You can sort them by a court sale, which could mean probate, for example. You can sort them as rental properties. You can sort them as multifamily units. Something else I want to say, when you go to Realtor.com, you get the real answer on whether a property is available. Realtor.com is our primary website. I'm going to talk about 3 ways to find property: primary, secondary, and tertiary. And these are sites and methods. Your primary way is through the MLS and through a real estate agent. Of course, you want that to be an investor-friendly real estate agent. They're out there. I'm not the only one. There are lots of them that are out there. When you go to Realtor.com, you're looking at a mirror image of the MLS in a much prettier format, a more public friendly format. and every single method that we use to search as a realtor, let's just say that you have a realtor who's your cousin, your friend, your neighbor, your real estate agent that you bought and sold with, your parents did. Let's just say that they're not necessarily investor friendly and you don't know where to start, and you Google it and nothing comes up. What you do is you ask your real estate agent to set you up on a search in the MLS. For example, you want that search to be bank owned. You want bank owned properties to come in your search, bank owned only. Let's say you want it to be court ordered. You want it to be something that is being handled like a probate, for example. You want that to be an investment property specific. You're not just looking for the nicest house on the block. You want it to be a short sale. Remember the days of short sales when the market had so many of, unfortunately, homeowners that were not able to make their mortgage any longer, so the properties were being sold. They're still out there, short sales. You can designate to actually look at the type of sale in the MLS, i.e. realtor.com, to search things by short sale, bank owned, etc. You can do that. You can ask your real estate agent to set up an automated search for you. And guys, this is going to be one of the most important things I say on this whole entire discussion that we're having tonight. When a real estate agent sets up a search, this is a huge secret that I'm telling you that you're going to tell your realtor that they don't even know they're doing. When they set up a search for you, it automatically goes out, for example, at the same time every single day. Well, guess what? When you get notified every day, when you get home at 7 p.m. that a bank-owned property has gone on the market, all of us have seen that at 6 a.m. We've already scheduled an appointment to be there at 9 a.m. We've already written an offer by 12 noon. It's already gone into a multiple offer. Meanwhile, you don't even know it's available. How often do you look on the internet and something is already marked as contingent? And you think, well, this isn't helping me at all. This isn't helping me find property. It actually is. As long as your agent sets up your search with what's called, believe it or not, ASAP notification. It's an actual field where you're notified the second the realtor could be listing, or a bank could be putting the property in the MLS. It could be 3:30 in the morning. Your email is going to ding at 3:30 in the morning if you're set up appropriately for that search. It's the biggest secret coming and going that no one does. When you get notified once a day, you miss out on properties that have already got 5 offers on them before you even know it's available. So that's one thing with the MLS and having a real estate agent. Have them set it up multifamily, have them set it up bank owned, et cetera, et cetera. I can set these searches up for you. Any realtor can. It takes less than 10 minutes and it's set up until you turn it off. So you can save things as favorites, etc. Don't be afraid of realtors, and don't be afraid if they're not investor friendly. They can still do this for you. So realtor.com is the site that you want to go to. Moving forward, and in no particular order, I really want to talk about something that's super popular right now, guys. Everyone has heard it as driving for dollars. This works. It is something that wholesalers do, which I'm going to move on and talk about next. Driving for dollars, I want you to know that as you drive around, there's not a person in this audience that can say they haven't driven by a house and the grass is 2 feet tall and you can tell that there's newspapers on the porch and you've said, I wonder what's going on with that house. Of course you have. I wonder what's going on. I wonder what's going on. Driving for dollars means this, that as you go into a neighborhood where you want to own property, it could be in your own neighborhood or somewhere else, you see a home where the snow has not been removed, the grass is 2 feet high, and most important, there might be white notices on the door, taped to the door. It means something is going on with that particular house. Driving for dollars, a lot of old-time investors say it's their number one way that they got their first few properties. When you drive around and you see these homes that look like something's wrong with them, you take out an old-fashioned pen and paper and you write your name and number down, and you either leave it at the property or you go to the neighbors and you knock on the door and you introduce yourself and you apologize and say, what's going on with this house next door? The neighbors are a wealth of information. So when you find properties that appear to be distressed and you're driving for dollars, you write the address down, you go home, you go to the auditor site, you look up the property, and then you find the address and you click on the actual link to the left that tells you the taxes Are they behind in their taxes? It tells you the name of the owner of the property. Guess where you go next, people? Whitepages.com. So you head over to White Pages and you get some more information on who the owner is. Honest to gosh, you literally do your due diligence in driving for dollars. So a hugely popular way when you get a hold of the neighbor or the sister or the uncle and you introduce yourself on the phone and say, oh, I'm sorry, I was just that house over on Main Street. I was just over there and the grass is overgrown. And are you the owner? When you ask questions and you're nice and you introduce yourself first, people will give you answers. That's what we're programmed to do. So that's another hugely popular way to find property. And old school investors and investors right now, wholesalers, who I'm going to go to next, they say that this is the way that they obtain their best deals. They see a house in distress. Do you want to know why it's in distress? It's in distress because no one can afford to keep it up. Otherwise, they wouldn't let an eyesore sit in the neighborhood. So I'm going to move past that one, and anything I talk about, feel free to shoot me an email, a phone call, a text. I will send you spreadsheets, documents, phone numbers, websites, anything that you need for all of these. Next one I'm going to go to really is wholesalers, because it is so popular in the last 10 years. Wholesalers have exploded. Wholesalers are an intermediate person, a middleman, if you will. Wholesalers, I'm probably going to talk about 20 different ways tonight to find properties. Wholesalers actually do all the things that I'm going to talk about, and they do it for you for a fee. They charge you an up fee. So of all the things I discuss on finding properties, wholesalers try any combination, and you don't have to try all 15 or 20 things. You might try 2 or 3 of them. A wholesaler is a person who peruses the internet, checks bank websites, goes to meetups for investors, makes a network and networks with people, does a lot of driving for dollars. Wholesale send out direct mail, marketing, media, a lot of lists of things I'm going to get to as we move forward. Wholesalers are not necessarily licensed agents. They find properties or people who are willing to sell for cash because they want to or they need to. And then they call it assigning a contract. If you're wondering how to connect with wholesalers in your area, you can definitely Google it. You won't come up with a whole lot. You would want to go to the website Meetup and go to real estate investment, like meetings with people like Kathy has for HHH, Happy House Hunters. I can give you lists of wholesalers. Once you're on their email list, you're notified of properties that come through to you. And I'll tell you what, guys, wholesalers have already done all this work for you. And next thing you know, they have a property. They will give you everything but the street number. Eventually, you'll get the street number. A wholesale will say, they'll say, a wholesaler, I have a property in Northwest Columbus, a single family home, currently vacant. They'll give you the status. They'll tell you the approximate age, you know, the roof, the siding, the electrical, mechanical systems. And they'll say, I'm willing to sell this contract for $50,000. I'll use a round number. Guess what? They made a deal with the owner for $45,000. They're probably going to put an average of $5,000 in their pocket for doing all the work for you. But my friends, the ticket is if you're offered a wholesale property, the amazing thing is once it's offered to you and you go into contract, and there are private contracts, there are real estate agent driven contracts, there are wholesalers who have contracts that can be purchased at Staples that are state specific real estate purchase contracts. This can all be done, and a wholesaler finds the property for you. You're just agreeing to pay a fee because they've done everything that I'm going to tell you that you can do as well. So a wholesaler is a great way. Wholesalers actually lead me to another method. I'll give you an example. The owner of Bigger Pockets is a great guy. He's been a real estate investor for a long time. He spends tens of thousands of dollars in his career on direct mail. Direct mail is an extension of what I just said a few minutes ago, driving for dollars. You go up, you might put your name and number on a house and say, call me. You might talk to the neighbors. You might write a letter to someone at that home saying, I'm really interested. You write a handwritten letter and getting a hold or buying the property, what's going on with it after you do your due diligence. Direct mailings and direct letters are a method where you target and neighborhood. And I will tell you exactly how to do it. You go to the United States Postal Service.com, USPS.com. You find the neighborhood, and it's all neighborhood specific. Like, for example, Kathy and I happen to live in the village of Canal Winchester. It happens to be called Rural Route 1. So Rural Route 1 is an actual mailing list of a neighborhood that you want to either flip property or you want to buy and hold property, and you decide to send a mailer. Well, the price of a stamp right now is about 50 cents. So you're looking at under $1 per letter, whether you do an envelope first class or you can do a more of a bulk mailer. I'll give you an example. It costs me about $250 for an area as a realtor that I want to target sellers to sell their houses. In reality, you all in Happy House Hunters Masterminds, you all are looking for sellers to sell their houses to you. It's exactly the same thing. So you would create on a Word document, or you don't have to at all. It can be done for you. You can create a postcard telling people, you may have gotten them in the mail, that you want to buy their house. I will tell you the ROI, the return on investment for this is if you can get one response out of 100 postcards, that's phenomenal. If you can get one reply, a serious reply is what I mean by that, out of 1,000, you're doing well. For example, the owner of Bigger Pockets, he swears by this. It really helped him early in his career. He feels that being able to obtain 1 to 2 closed properties per 1,000 mailers to him is excellent. So that's a great thing to say about direct mailers. Target your area, go to USPS.com, find it. It will give you, you can even export, guys, you can export the mailing addresses right at USPS.com for free. I bet a lot of people may not have known that. So on one note of the things we've talked about so far, the MLS, the realtor, the driving for dollars, the direct mailings and letters, the wholesalers. In going back to the wholesalers, they use every single thing and that I have already said to find and target these properties. And again, you pay them that up fee. They do the exact same thing. So don't discount wholesalers, but I do have something to say about those in terms of real estate rules that have changed. I'm going to get to that after I go through a few more of these. So another way that you can find and buy property on the internet, guys, things like, let's go through these one by one. There's so many. We don't have a lot of time to go into a ton of detail, but if you even just Google them, you'll find them, and I'll give them to you as well. There are tax lien sales. It's the least expensive way to actually purchase a property for significantly less than the value. And there are people lined up for tax lien sales. It's when you buy a property that the county has taken back to their possession. It's owned, the property is owned, but the taxes are so delinquent, and the tax bill could be, in our state of Ohio, someone's 5 years behind. It could be a tax bill of $10,000 to $20,000, for example, or it could be triple that if it's in a more expensive state like New Jersey. It could be quadruple that, or if it's in a really rural area, it could be half that. You can go county by county, and there are reports. It takes a lot of due diligence. You can look up properties that are for sale for tax, and they're publicly listed sales. Another great way, and I want to talk about that too. Let's just move right on to sheriff sales. In Franklin County, I'm going to assume that everyone here has access to Franklin County. If you Google Franklin County sheriff sales, you're actually going to get, as crazy as it is, an exact list of all of the properties that are coming up for sale in Franklin County, guys. And this is per county. You can do it for Pickaway County, Union County, Fairfield County, Licking County. You can look up the sheriff sales, which are dated. The address is given. You click on it and find out where it's normally at the courthouse. You find out where the actual sheriff sale is at. It's different by county. It tells you the starting bid. And then there are even properties that you can look at past that were up for sheriff sale, and it tells you the starting bid on the website. It also tells you what the property's sold for. So if you're thinking, well, there's no way I'm ever going to get that because so many people are in line, guess what? There are sometimes 5 properties on the docket. Sometimes there are 36 properties on the docket. And I want to say something. There's a lot of real estate investors in Columbus, but not every investor can be at every sheriff's sale every single week, all the time. Sometimes there are people I know, my own clients, and I certainly don't make any money off of a sheriff's sale. I don't get a commission. I have sent my clients to sheriff sales and they shock me when they say, you wouldn't believe it, Stephanie, there were only 4 other people there and I was the highest bidder and I got the property, and then they're in shock, complete shock. So sheriff sales are a great one. I want to talk about general websites too, guys. Let's talk about, I'll give you an example, HUDHomestore.com. There are so many websites. There are dedicated Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and HUD websites where property is owned by each entity and they are sold on the websites. For HUD, for example, it's HUD Home Store. There are other bank-owned property asset manager websites, of which if you email me, I'll send you at least a dozen REO property owned. These are asset managers for banks. Hubzu is a good one. Hubzu, just like it sounds. There are so many others. And you can actually, as a total consumer, you can bid on these properties. Only about half of what I send you is going to actually require you to bid with the licensed real estate agent. The other ones, bid away, bid all that you want. And I just saw the question on my email. It's really easy. And actually, I should have put my email where my name is on the screen. My email is my name. It's Stephanie Jenkins at remax.net. STEPHANIEJENKINS at remax, REMAX.net. I will send you guys a complete overview of whichever individual topic or the whole entire topic of what I'm talking about tonight. I will send you the dedicated websites, the links to sheriff sales, links to bank owned, links to HUD, Fannie Mae, etc. Also, Kathy and I, Kathy, I was actually going to ask you to step in on some of your meetups, which
I just want to say that we're recording this as well. So at the end, I'm going to give a link where you can actually find our interactive calendar, and it has the Zoom link to tap into the call. But once the call is over, I will actually have the recording link there, probably starting tomorrow morning. It usually comes out the following day, but I'll have this particular meeting actually recorded, and the link will be right there on the interactive calendar as well. And so I'll put that in the chat as well for everyone.
Perfect. Okay, guys. So all of these bank websites, I was going to wait, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you now. Although most people have no idea, I was going to kind of wait till the end and do a couple more little tips, but I'll just tell you now. In Fairfield County, there are 5 banks in Lancaster, 5 of them. And this is just an example of a fact right off the top of my head, where the banks themselves have on their own bank website. When you go to the left-hand side of the menu, there's a link, and it's actually called Real Estate Owned. You can sometimes have to go 2 to 3 clicks into the bank website, and you can go to the consumer section, you can go to the real estate section. Believe it or not, some of the smaller towns, Franklin County does everything very publicly. Fairfield County has 5 banks that have their own lists of real estate owned on a little tiny little bank that you never thought in a million years would have something like that. And guess what? Some of them have as few as 2 properties listed, and some of them have 10, 12, 20 properties listed. When the market collapsed in the fall of 07, leading into 08, 09, the complete terrible part of the market, these real estate owned bank lists were massive. It was unbelievable. It's not quite that way now, but they are still there. And I can send you those as well. And I'm sure if I do a little more footwork, I can find even more banks that actually have their own lists of their own properties. And you actually call someone right at the bank and you negotiate to buy the property. Now, I want to move on to the next thing, which I call it newspaper on the computer. And it is, if you think about it. It works and it's true. Craigslist is still alive and well, and Craigslist is a newspaper on the computer. It's got a description and it's got a picture. The most for sale by owner people that don't want to pay money to put the ad in the newspaper, guys, they put it on Craigslist. For sale by owner websites are super prevalent, but things like on Zillow, you can list your house for sale. You can list your house for sale on a lot of websites, but there are people who put their homes on Craigslist that really do have a property for sale that you literally can reply to them, or they put their phone number in. But guess what? Here's a little ticket for Craigslist. When you see, it's one of the #1 rental sites to actually move into an apartment. I have a handful of people who reply to that ad and say, oh, you have this apartment for rent in Grandview. You know what? I see that you have an apartment for rent in Grandview. My name is Stephanie, and I actually am so hoping to buy an apartment building in Grandview. Have you thought of selling? It doesn't always work, but it does work. You've actually got owners of these rental properties, you know what they'll say back to you? And I'm dead serious. They say, well, I've thought about it. How much would you pay? They're serious. How much would you pay? So Craigslist and the newspaper go hand in hand in terms of, you can still look in the newspaper, guys. There still is a real estate section. There are still major brokerage firms that really do post ads in the newspaper. And then there's adorable, like people, let's just say some baby boomers that are moving into the next stage of their life and they want to sell their home or their property. They'll put it in the newspaper. It still happens. So moving past that type of media, I want to go to a couple of things that you would pay a little bit more money for. And one of them is print and static marketing. Print and static marketing is a way to generate people to contact you if they have something to sell. So it reverses the role completely. This is huge. Once people get 1 or 2 properties under their belt, they might have a little bit of money, a little bit of a budget to spend. I'll give you an example. You can do those small stick in the ground signs, honest to gosh, or poster board that say, we buy houses. Guys, people wouldn't do it if it didn't work. So let me repeat that. People wouldn't put those signs on the corner of the highway and on telephone poles if it didn't work. They wouldn't be all over Columbus. So you can put the small signs that are usually about 2 foot by 3 foot that you are looking to buy houses, any condition, with your phone number. It takes 1 person to call you. That's inexpensive. But let me move on a little bit to like a park bench. Super inexpensive. You can rent a park bench. No kidding. And guess what? Those areas that are so hot right now, like Linden, for example, I have a client buying a house in Linden Park right now. There are park benches right this very second that are for rent in Linden Park. All those houses all up and down Linden Park, guys, people own them. You rent a park bench, you put on there that you will buy their home today. You will pay cash for their home today. That's if you want to you're going to pay cash. You obviously don't have to put that. So that's another idea, is a park bench. Now think about this. During COVID-19, there are so many people that are in distress right now. Another big strategy on print and static marketing is it gets a little more expensive. You take 90 days and you rent a billboard. And I don't mean in Greater Columbus, guys. Renting a billboard can be really expensive. It can be from $500 to $2,500 a month. It can be pricey, but have you ever thought of going just a little bit outside of Columbus? Maybe you decide to rent one of the millions of empty billboards that are on Route 23, that are on 71. There are billboards that you can rent that are asking people, especially during COVID-19, it's ingenious, and you're inviting people to call you. Another method that I'm seeing more and more of, you wrap your car, or you put a bumper sticker on your car, or you get You get writing put on your back window, "We buy houses." You're literally a moving billboard. This is big. A lot of the investment groups, they have stenciling on their car that says, "We buy houses." And again, people are calling you. And it's so inexpensive to get stenciling on your car or to get a magnet to put on your car. Most websites sell those magnets that go on the side of your car for under $50. And you put it on your car when you want to, you take it off when you don't, and people call you that they want to sell their property. And the people that do it, guys, they're in distress. They're in distress. They know that that's why you have that on the side of your car, and they can call you anonymously without listing their home and feeling embarrassed about the situation that they might be in. Another one that I have to go to, hands down, this is an end all be all, puts it all together, is some people call it intensity, some people call it it's your passion. You have to let other people know what you're doing and what you want and what you're looking for. And Kathy's shaking her head. There's Facebook, of course, there's other social media sites, there's everyone that you work with in your career. You let people know what you're looking for. I want to own an apartment building. I want to own a rental. I want to flip houses. Those are ways you let people know what you want, and people will come back and say to you, "Oh my gosh, I have a contact for this. I have a contact for that. I know someone selling." There's so much to be said for human relationships, or I call it heart or passion. I love what I do. I'll give you an example as a realtor, and I'm going to ask Kathy one for hers too. I mean, with everything that we've gone over, the MLS, the realtor, driving for dollars, direct mail, wholesalers, auctions, tax liens, HUD, Fannie Mae, bank-owned real estate, secondary and tertiary sites like Craigslist. Then you can put your own dollars out there, print and static marketing. You can do small signs. You can do a bumper sticker on your own car. You can have social media and tell every single person what you want, what you want. This is what I hope to gain. People will respond to that. But I want to talk about one now that kind of encompasses all of them. Instead of you going to a website and looking for a property, and by the way, folks, please don't pay money. Don't pay money to sign up for lists. Don't pay money to sign up for pre-foreclosure, because you're not getting any benefit at all. I'll go ahead and speak to that quickly. A pre-foreclosure website is a website where, I'll give you an example. In the state of Ohio, once you are 120 days behind on your mortgage, the mortgage holder, the lien holder, will file action against you at 120 days. That public filing is public knowledge. So now the whole town knows that there's been action filed against you. It's a paper pusher that gathers these records from the courthouse, and then they sign you up of you giving $19 a month for a pre-foreclosure list, knowing full well that most of those properties are never going to go into foreclosure. People get behind. They know they can be so far behind. They know that. They play that being behind game, and then they catch their mortgage up by a month and pay 30 days. Don't pay money for these lists. I can tell you right now, they're not going to be helpful to you 99.9% of the time. But let's reverse the role. Instead of going to realtor.com, instead of going to websites, instead of going to the auctions, the online bidding, the tax, the bank-owned real estate, you can actually create your own lead generating website. And I'm going to tell you 3 ways to do it. And this brings leads to you, because in the end, you're trying to find property. This is what you want. So I'm going to start with something Kathy's probably really familiar with. You can build a website almost for free at WordPress. Almost for free, and you can drive people. You can list your website and drive people to your website on so many different platforms. That's a completely different conversation. But now I'm going to move up a little bit, guys. These ones cost a little bit of money, but they're lead capturing. Wix.com and Squarespace. These are 2 other websites where you build your own lead capturing website for people that want to sell you their real estate, or people that need help. They're in financial distress. I'm going to move up one more, and it's going to be the most expensive one, leadpropeller.com. This is huge, and I've referred to him a few times because years ago, I learned a lot from the owner of Bigger Pockets, and I don't like to necessarily point towards one group or point towards another group, but this is one that Bigger Pockets uses on a regular basis, leadpropeller.com. And all the verbiage is written for you. You get a discounted rate, and it's to generate real estate sales to you so that you can actually buy. And since all of us are in the beginning stages of wanting to pick up property, this is a really small price to pay to be able to get leads coming to you. Let's just say 100 leads a year. That's not a lot, guys. 100's not a lot. And one of them turns into a sale between now and the end of the year. If that happens, plus all of the other things that I just mentioned go into play, then it's almost impossible for you not to pick up property, and property that's affordable. And I want to speak to affordable. Kathy buys properties that are $5,000, $6,500, $10,000. I'm serious. I have other people that buy property at $21,000, $28,000. We're not sitting here talking about how to finance them, but buying your first property at $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, $50,000. The whole point is that you're going to give them value once you find them. You're going to give them value, and you're going to make money off of those properties. And it's finding them that is the absolute key. So I think I've covered all of the different areas. There were 16, so 16 different ways to find property. And any questions at all, guys, you can ask me now. Please ask Kathy too. And Kathy, are there some others that you're thinking of that I might be missing? Oh, I know what I wanted to ask you. There's always that, how did you end up with that? How did you end up with that? How did you get that? There's always that question. I happen to know, I want the group to know that Kathy has come across property, and I was like, what? You bought property today? What are you talking about? How did I not know about that? What'd you do? How'd you get that? So I'm going to turn it over to Kathy on those ways to get property that you're like, how did that just happen?
Well, first of all, I love real estate like Stephanie loves real estate. So what happens is that my radar is always up. So whenever I'm driving down the street, I see a property that looks distressed, or I see a property that has a for sale by owner, or for whatever reason, I realize that property is something that I might be interested in. Now, Stephanie, and as part of the group here, knows Mark, and my Mark is a retired industrial arts teacher, so he has a skill set. And so what happens when we decide to buy property, I wanted to retire, and I didn't have a retirement plan set up with enough to retire on. And so I finally went to Mark and I said, I want to buy some properties that need rehabbed, and then I want to hold them as rentals and try to create some income for myself so that I can retire. And he said, okay. And so he loves the challenge of the really complicated ones. Those are the ones that he likes the most. I hear somebody's got a little bit of background noise. I was looking for it here. I'm not sure where it's coming from, but anyway. So what happens is we will find a property, and maybe it'll be in foreclosure. So we watch it. Next thing you know, that property has to go through that foreclosure process, which you want it to, because that's what cuts loose any previous liens and that sort of thing on the property. So as it starts to go through the process, once it is bank owned, and then the bank puts it back out there again, they have to wait so many days, and only owner occupants can actually purchase that property. And Stephanie can talk more to that. Whoops, sorry. I tried to unmute you and I bumped you again. Unmute yourself, Stephanie. I hit you again. Yep, there you go. I tried to unmute you right as you unmuted you. So anyway, Stephanie can talk to that. But what we do is we wait until that whole property has been looked at by owner occupants. And then it even goes further, and the investors start to look at it. And nobody wants it. The owner occupants don't want it. The investors don't want it, because there's always good, better, and best. And usually there's something structural wrong with that property. But remember, I've got Mark in my back pocket. So by the time the bank finally ends up with that property and no one wants it, that's when we get involved. And
be first or last. Famous
yes,
quote, you either
yes.
be first or you be last.
And we have carved out our niche of being last, because we wait until no one wants that property, and then we go in and oftentimes we even offer less than, because remember, if the bank has foreclosed on this and it's been an FHA, they've already gotten paid the insurance money out of the FHA for their losses. So at this point, they just want it off their books. So they may put it on their books for 30,000, and we'll go in and offer them 10, and they'll say, yeah, we'll take it. You can have it for 10. And so we've bought our last, oh gosh, I don't think I've paid over 50,000 for a house yet. Everything has been under 50. And I think the last 4 have been the last 5 or 6 have been under 20, and the last 2 have been under 10. So, and again, that's our niche, and that's because I've got Mark. Not everyone can do that, and I realize that.
Properties become stigmatized. When a property is first on the market, guess what, guys? In this hot market, we've been in this hot market for a long time. When you're looking to find property and a few people actually go through the process of going in and out of contract, and then what do you wonder? Well, if nobody else wants it, I don't want it. That's not the mindset to have. You either want to be first, and I mean be on it in this market to get it, be first. Have a real estate agent who is so aggressive. Go in with your bid as aggressive as you can on the different websites and auctions and sales, or be last. And being last is a good place to be. And I definitely think it's extraordinary. And I wanted to mention one other thing too that I actually forgot to say. After 19 years in this business, and my sister's a realtor, my dad was in real estate, everyone I know seems like they're in some sort of construction or, that type of work, real estate. And I work with other agents all the time. It's called co-oping. We work on one side, buying or selling, buying or selling. The other day, out of nowhere, I was in a multiple offer situation, which is every day. And the listing agent, to me, guys, you can't judge a book by its cover. I will tell you that. The listing agent was this young guy, super laid back, like just didn't. Long story short, guess what I learned from this young guy? He was the nephew, newly licensed. Can I repeat? Newly licensed, which is a risk. He was selling a distressed property that was a vacant apartment building with 4 units. You know what he said to me? Well, Stephanie, just to let you know, my uncle is retiring and he's selling off all of his portfolio. Guys, this is one of the biggest portfolio owning investors in Columbus. I'm so glad I remembered to tell you this, because I'll give every one of you his name. Here's why. When you go to the Franklin County the auditor website, and you type in his name, it gives you, you can search by last name. So you put in the name of his investment company, and it brings up page after page after page of his properties. This young man, newly licensed, which scared me to work with him on such a complicated multiple offer deal. He was like, oh yeah, I'm going to be listing them all. He said, but because of the new pocket rule listings, I won't be able to tell you until the day before. So I'm so glad Kathy brought up what she did, because it reminded me to let you all know that the world has shifted in your favor. Pocket listings were illegal for decades. It means anyone such as myself, a licensed realtor that has knowledge of a property that needs to be sold, or a wholesaler has knowledge of a property that needs to be sold, it was illegal to share that to the public until several years ago. It became legal. What that means is whenever you guys ask that famous question, how do I find off-market property? How do I find off-market property? Well, you have to be notified that it's a pocket listing. It's something that I know about, just like what I just told you about. I happen to know that this investor's selling off every single thing in his arsenal. And I haven't given you his name or any addresses yet, but here's the deal. His nephew, the agent for the property, said, well, because of the new rule, guys, and I want you guys to all know that pocket listings just became illegal about 2.5 months ago. What this means to you, it's such a blessing for you. What it means is that as to where every time you logged onto the internet, do you remember that you looked up a property and it was already under contract? It was already contingent. Oh, instantly, you felt like you could never, ever get your hands on a property. Well, that's because we, as realtors working in this field, we were selling everything out from underneath the public behind the scenes. It was legal. We were calling up Kathy or Missy or Brady and saying, hey, listen, I've got this property and they want $50,000 for it. And do you have any buyers? And we would work out all the details behind the scenes. Then we would put it in the MLS, and then you, the public, would see it. And within seconds of it saying active, it was under contract or pending or contingent. That's no longer legal. It cannot happen. The new rule is that if I have knowledge, or anyone, of a private listing, that knowledge cannot be shared. If it is shared, because it's not fair. Face it, it's not fair. And now what's happened is that if I notify, Cassandra, if I notify you that a property is coming on the market tomorrow afternoon, let's just say it's going to be in a week, I have to have it publicly listed in the MLS within 24 hours of me texting, emailing, or verbally telling someone. I want you all to know, friends, this goes for every property, for every realtor, for every listing that you see that gets marked as contingent. If you haven't noticed, it hasn't been that way nearly as much in the last month. If you haven't noticed, they're staying active longer because pocket listings are no longer legal. So your chances of getting property on a fair playing field, are 100% better than they were. 100%. And so that investor, his nephew that said, my uncle's selling off his whole portfolio, I do have his name. I have everything. And guess what? But I don't know which addresses are going on the market. Just like you, I don't know which addresses are going to go on the market until either 24 hours before. His nephew can tell me, but he has to have them listed within 24 hours, or we all see them at the same time. And I think that that's a huge benefit for everyone listening today. If you walk away with anything, the playing field has been leveled in that respect. So finding property is going to be a lot easier than it has been for the last 7-8 years. It's going to be a lot easier.
Hey, Stephanie, I got a question there.
Yep.
So I just want to dive into that a little bit deeper and talk about off-market properties on Facebook or those mailing lists of where they say, oh, here, these haven't hit the market yet. Are those legal?
I'll tell you how they're legal. There's one way. If the person that is sending you, and guys, and I'm glad you brought that up, Chris, because I'm happy to forward you guys, the wholesalers that I work with. Chris, here's how it is legal. If it's a wholesaler, and there are plenty of groups on Facebook, Kathy and I were just talking about one of them the other day, that mark properties like Miller. Kathy, you remember Miller?
Right.
That particular person that was marketing Miller is in fact a wholesaler. He's not a licensed real estate agent, and he did not put that property into the Columbus MLS. Therefore, he has the right to tell people that it is for sale, and because the seller doesn't have it listed, he's not a realtor, he doesn't have it listed. It's a word of mouth opportunity. Yes, Chris, that is still legal, if you will. The minute it becomes illegal is if there was what's called intent. If there was intent to eventually list the property, here's how you know. People are getting busted left and right. The Ohio Division of Real Estate is inundated with complaints. These properties that we're all talking about that are on Facebook groups and so this property's coming up, but it's not on the market yet. When it hits the market, let's say it doesn't sell via wholesaling and it does go in the MLS eventually, the person that pre-marketed it, knowing full well they're putting it in the MLS eventually, is going to get sanctioned, if you will. There's going to be a complaint issued against them. It's going to go to mitigation, and they're going to get their hand slapped, and they're going to get a fine. And then after a couple of these occurrences, your license can be lost. But Chris, in that case, it's legal. And the people that are wholesalers, and I'm happy to put, I'll forward the emails to you guys so that you can tell the wholesalers, because they write to me and they say to me, Stephanie, I have property coming up for sale. What I can do is hook you up. And so I get so much fewer. The reason I get so much fewer of these is because these wholesalers get their license because they think, well, if I have my license, I can wear way more hats. I can make way more money. So I'll forward you the emails that I do get from wholesalers that are asking, do you want to buy these properties? So Chris, if it goes in the MLS eventually, that person can be in trouble. But if it doesn't, and the whole thing is a complete private transaction, it's completely legal.
Good to know that distinction. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
And what was that guy's name?
Out of complete total honesty, I'm dead serious here. I'll look it up in my email. It's like I'll even text the guy and ask him his uncle's name.
I'm curious if is it like Swampton Enterprises LLC?
Yes.
Didn't
I tell you about him?
Yeah, that's what I thought you were talking about.
Yeah, that's who I'm talking about. He's selling off his whole portfolio. So everyone here can go to the Franklin County Auditor site and go through pages and pages and drive by. And this man is selling off his portfolio. And his nephew is listing each of these properties in the MLS. But yes, that is who it is that's selling them off. And there's no reason that I can't tell you that at all. I'm not the listing agent. I happen to have the knowledge, and these properties are all, this is a major player in Columbus, and it's not just him. He has 2 other partner LLCs that those properties are going on the market as well. So believe it or not, as much as you guys are getting into the field of owning property, there are people getting out of the field, and that cycle is always going to occur. And your first one is oftentimes your hardest and takes the longest. And after that, it becomes easier.
So we've had a great event. I want to go around and see if anyone has any questions for Stephanie at this point. And again, ask anything, just anything that's on your mind on how to get started finding property.
It's thunderstorming here really bad. I have a huge window right in front of me. It's massive, and it is storming so bad here. I don't know where everybody else is. I love it. We did it.
Yeah, I'm around the corner from you. Yes, I can see. I have a window right here next to me as well.
Hi, this is Andora. I've got a couple questions. You mentioned that you're going to send us like some of these wholesalers that you work with. So are we just going to give you, do we need to give you our emails, or will you get those from Kathy?
Actually, what's in front of me, I work at a computer. I don't work on my phone. I'm not a phone worker. I work in an office at a computer at my office. And if you email me first with exactly what you want, okay, I will have your email and I'll reply back. And to be really honest with you, that's way easier for me. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. And I'm recording what we talked about tonight, and then on my website, which is kathybinner.com, I will post under the interactive calendar the link to the recording, and that link will go up sometime tomorrow. So you can actually go back through the recording as well. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming. This has been great. We've had a lot of fun tonight, and I learned a lot, even as long as I've been looking at property, and I still have learned some ways that I want to add to my list on how I'm going to look for properties. My best find, and Stephanie and I were talking about this earlier today, my best find is I was driving around, and the backstory is my mom had some bonds that she had cashed in And she turned around and handed me the money. It was $10,000. And she said, I want you to have this. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, thank you. My mom has since passed, but at the time she was trying to liquidate some things. And so she cashed the bonds and gave me the cash. Well, I was concerned that $10,000 would just be gone. I would spend it, I'd take a trip and buy a car and do this and do that. Next thing you know, I wouldn't have anything to show for the 10,000. And so jokingly, I told Mark, I said, boy, I wish I could find a piece of property for 10,000. He goes, you're not going to buy any property for $10,000. And I ran across this little cottage, and I knew there was a problem with it. The floors had sunk in the center, and I knew that the center support post simply had fallen over. And the realtor that had it listed, she said, I don't know what's wrong with this, but nobody wants to buy it. And she said, I don't know what the deal is. And she said the seller wants $6,500. Yeah, not $65,000, $6,500. It was a little cottage, a 3-bedroom, 2 bedrooms up, 1 bedroom down. It had new replacement windows. It had a relatively new air condenser unit outside. It had all vinyl siding. It was sitting on a nice foundation all the way around, but the center pillar that they had, because it had been a cottage that had not been on a foundation originally, and when they built the foundation under it, they didn't put a beam under there. They just had a support post that fell over, and I knew that's what was wrong with it. So I said, I'll take it, and I got out my checkbook and I said, I'm ready to close. And I think we closed on that property in maybe 3 days, because I took it with no inspections, no contingencies, just, cash, and I was done with it. That property, it took us a couple of hours. Our Happy House Hunter group, one of the guys showed up and helped Mark, and it was Bob Strobel, and Bob Strobel and Mark crawled underneath that little cottage, and they put they stacked up some blocks and took a jack and jacked the center of that house back up and put the cement blocks under there. And that house has been rented ever since for $650 a month. And I paid $6,500 for that price. So that's probably my best find, but those are the kinds of properties that we're looking for us. That's what works for us. That's our niche, is that we want properties that no one else wants to mess with. And again, I'm not saying no one else could have fixed that house. It was a pretty easy fix. But when investors come along, there's always good, better, and best. And a lot of times they'll say, well, we could do this one and it's okay, but this other house down the street is a little better investment. And maybe the one over in a different street is the best investment. And so we just wait until a lot of those just fall out, at the other end where nobody wants them. And that's been our niche, and we've done quite well with that. But as Mark's getting older, I know Andorra said, could she borrow Mark? But as Mark's getting older, he says it's too much. He said, I don't want to be climbing in crawl spaces and fixing standpipes. And so we've made a deal, myself and Mark, and he says that he'll do the expensive stuff if I hire the rest of it done. So that's kind of our formula these days. And so I'm putting together a team. And so for some of you that haven't purchased your first property yet, even though you have a skill set, there's going to come a time that either, number one, you're going to be tired and you're not going to want to do some of the big stuff. Maybe you don't want to put a whole roof on a house, or dig all the way around the house for better drainage because there's water in the basement. There could be a big project that you just don't want to do. Or there's going to come a time that, you're going to want to retire, you're going to want to travel, you're going to want to do some other things, and you're just not going to want to do as much work as maybe you did at the beginning. And so you have to start putting together a team as soon as you start getting into the real estate business. Start working on a team. And there's no easy way to get that team. This is the age-old question of everyone that's done real estate investing. They go, how do you find a good plumber? How do you find a good roofer? How do you find, how do you find the good ones? There's only one way. You just have to go with referrals and try someone, and because personality also plays a part in that. And you either like to work with them, you work well together, they do the job you're looking for the price that you're willing to pay, and you want to move them to the top of your list. And the ones that didn't work out so well, I tell everyone all the time, do not burn that bridge, because they might be the only person available when the water pipe breaks and you've got water running through your ceiling. So don't burn that bridge, but put them at the bottom of your list and maybe go through the other ones first, but you still have them just in case you have to call on them. So never burn a bridge, but just kind of put them in the order that you work well with them. And I actually have a file cabinet right here next to where I'm sitting at my desk, and my list is actually on the front of my file cabinet. So Mark can see it. My daughter is my admin. She helps out when we travel, and she can see it. And so if I had to call someone and say, hey, go get the master key ring and look on the list and call the top plumber, it's all right here, very easy for somebody else to do. So you have to kind of put your systems in place as you start building. You don't want to wait till you have 10 properties and then say, oh, I'm just so overwhelmed with everything and I need some systems. So you can start building those systems as you start building your portfolio. So with that said, I want to introduce the fact that we do have a mastermind. The mastermind meets a couple of times a month, and we actually will show you hands-on how some of our folks are purchasing, finding, and purchasing, and then funding, and working their way through those 6 F's of real estate, how to fix them, how to flip them, how to fill them. And finally, what is your freedom number? How many properties? And it's less than what you think. It's less than what you think, the number of properties that you need to have to retire. I was just sharing with a couple of folks when we first came on tonight. I said, I worked really hard today. I had 2 phone calls. One tenant has a leak under her bathroom sink, and so I had to call the plumber. And the next guy I called, his fluorescent lights aren't coming on as quickly, and so he thinks maybe the ballast or the starters or the bulbs are starting to burn out, and I called our handyman. So I made 2 phone calls today, and that was my 8-hour workday on real estate. So so now, not every day is like that. Some days I don't get any calls, and then some days I might, get a big one. Maybe it's a big problem. But for the most part, once you start renting your properties out, if you're going to buy and hold, which is what we're doing instead of flipping, if you're going to buy and hold and you finally work through the beginnings of the property, make sure that it's ready to rent, at that point, you're just doing some maintenance issues. There's usually nothing major after that. It's just maintenance. And then flipping when you have a renter move out. And we've got systems for all that. Our mastermind group has all of that information. We're launching a new membership site this month just for the masterminds. And in that membership site, there's going to be all the forms that you need. There's going to be a sample lease agreement, a 3-day eviction. I come with all of the forms. So if you have questions, I can help you. A couple of folks I see on this call can vouch for that Stephanie and I are there. We don't count minutes, and we don't count pennies. We actually give and over deliver and serve you as much as we can at any time that we can. So if you have questions, we try to always keep them answered for you and help you out. So we'll even go out and look at a property with you if that's helpful. Mark's even gone out and given some ballpark estimates on what it would take to fix some properties for some folks before they actually made an offer, so that they knew what to expect. And all of that is included. If you're a part of our mastermind, all of that just comes with it. So, and the mastermind, for those of you that are wondering, it's $99 to register and it's $25 a month. So it's really a small price to pay for as much as we're trying to deliver. And we were there. We love it. We love the business. And so that's why we're doing this. And Stephanie is amazing. If you've ever been in a real estate deal that you had to struggle to get to the closing table, Stephanie is the person you want in your corner, because she knows how to make all of those parts and pieces come together on the same day for that closing. Because there's a lot of parts and pieces these days, a lot of legalities to get through. So with that said, Elise made a comment. If anybody wants to jump in, I would love it. If you want to just share a little bit. Do we have anyone that wants to share with the callers tonight about your experience so far? I know we've got Andorra, we've got Chris, we've got Elise.
Are you talking, I'm sorry, this is Andorra. Are you referring to our experience with Happy House Hunters or Mastermind or
Just with myself and with Stephanie, just in general, if you felt you've had any extra value from what we provide.
Absolutely. I will say I started doing real estate in 1990, showing my age there. So, and I have to say I'm very, very impressed with Kathy. You know, you're always good to take a telephone call and go into detail, because I don't do this full time. I just do it on the side, but you just have provided so much insight. I'm very impressed with Stephanie's presentation. She brought up things that I didn't know. I mean, I knew about bank sales, but there's like this USPS thing. I didn't know about that. The driving for dollars, you know, I've seen those postcards, but just a great presentation, you know, about the idea of the bumper sticker, you know, putting that on if you were really wanting to buy houses. I don't know if I'd run a billboard because I don't, you know, I'm not sure about that, but I think it's I love, you know, to me, knowledge is power, and just so much packed into this presentation. And I have actually, prior to coming to this group, I had signed on to another group, and there's just no comparison, to be honest with you. And I'm not just saying that. This, you know, just from dealing with Kathy, as well as what Stephanie provided tonight, just so much great information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So
Yes,
much.
thank you.
Appreciate it. Kathy, I do have a little bit of news to let you know, because I got, well, literally a text message while we've been sitting here on this call. But guys, I want everyone to know I have an opportunity coming up that I've been working on. I'm not even kidding you, for probably 2+ years, that I am aligning myself with a corporate management group that manages when senior citizens move into a long-term care facility to stay. They have a home that needs to be sold. And I've aligned myself, it's been a couple of years, where it looks like this opportunity is really going to be coming to fruition, where I will be the dedicated real estate agent that sells properties that are all over the state of Ohio, many centric to Columbus, greater Columbus and around, that are owned by people who are moving into long-term care living, and their properties are all over the place and they will need to be sold. And so that's a huge opportunity. These might be ranches, 2 stories, they might be big, small. You know, people that have been in their home for decades, oftentimes, my opinion is sometimes, guys, these older homes, boy, they are better sometimes than newer built homes. Rock solid opportunity. I just got a text message about it that the group met again today, and it's really moving forward. So in terms of having that portfolio of houses for happy house hunters and masterminds to choose from, obviously Kathy and this group will be a #1 priority of knowing about these properties for sale. And that would mean even with the new pocket listings, it still means you would know before they go on the internet. And so that's huge. So excited to announce that. I didn't think I'd bring that up tonight, but I got the message, and so that's really exciting.
Well, congratulations.
There's probably going to be something for everybody on that.
Yeah, congratulations, Stephanie. That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Thanks. Hopefully it'll benefit all of you and your team.
Yes, perfect. Does anyone else want to share before we go? We still have Chris.
I will totally share.
Okay.
I've had awesome experience with both Kathy and Stephanie recently, actually. I closed on a property. What has it been now? It's been a few weeks now. And thanks to both Kathy's education up to that point and after that point, because afterwards I had more questions with some of the tenants, but Stephanie during the process, just the amount of details Stephanie provided actually saved me, what was it, almost $10,000 on the closing?
Chris actually thought we found a mistake. I found a mistake that was being made in the transaction, and I'll say one thing. Chris actually, I said, you know, Chris, I think I'm gonna use this to our advantage. My job is to protect you. My job is to get you the best deal possible. And we calculated what we thought this mistake, this misrepresentation was costing Chris. We thought it was about $2,500. So Chris and I separated knowing that it was going to be about $2,500. I knew that Chris misunderstood me. I knew that. He didn't know I was asking for a $7,500 price decrease on the home, along with some other perks that went along with it. And guys, I didn't know if it would work. I kind of knew it would work. It worked. It worked.
It was awesome regardless.
Yes, it worked.
So I'm very pleased, and I don't know if, am I allowed to spill the beans, Kathy?
Absolutely.
Okay, so as of yesterday, I got the keys for I have a duplex, and I got the keys for one of those apartments, and before I even make up what I'm going to do to the place, the Boots on the Ground group for the Mastermind group is going to take a look at it on Friday. So I think that'll be very cool. So
yes. And because of the COVID and everything that's going on right now, Stephanie and I are going to meet with Chris tomorrow. We're going to go through this property with him. And then on Friday, when our mastermind gets together, and Andorra is asking what time, we're going to go live on Zoom, just like we are right now, at 5 o'clock on Friday. And then we're going to share all the things that we saw in the house and what we recommend that happens and how he can fix it and what he needs to do to get that rented.
Yeah, I'm hoping I can show the before uncut version of this place, and then down the line in a month or so, show the finished version and the steps to rent it out, I guess, as I go along. So, and it's all thanks to Kathy and Stephanie. They've been a tremendous help. This is my first property, so I'm very happy about it.
Good, good. Congratulations to you, Chris.
Thank you, thank you.
And for the rest of the group that doesn't know, Chris is also a new daddy.
Yep, he just turned 3 months.
So he has a lot of new things going on in his life. So perfect. I see another mastermind person on the call. I see Adrian. I don't know if he has anything to say, but thank you for being here. I don't want to put him on the spot, but if he wants to share, he can jump in. Did anyone else have any comments or anything to say?
I want to say thank you to everyone. I'm so proud of all of you, and I'm so glad you're here. This being the first night of the series, honest to gosh, this 6-month period is going to be phenomenal. It is. Kathy, thank you so much for hosting. If somebody just asked for my phone number, I'll just quickly say that it's 614-678-1912.
All right, that one is Steph's. And then I'll put mine on here as well. Mine is 614-580-6439. So there are our phone numbers. Adrian says he doesn't have anything to say, but thanks.
I'd just like to say, this was our first meeting and found it very interesting, very informational. Really looking forward to learning about the other 5 Fs.
That's going to be, that's going to be a lot of fun. Stephanie, I got a little bit of feedback on you, so I clicked you on mute there for a second. Yes, as a matter of fact, in the actual Happy House Hunters Mastermind, we work wherever you are in the process. So some folks are in the process of flipping, some are in the process of filling, some are in the process of just finding their freedom number. So we work wherever you are when it comes to the mastermind. But as far as these free meetups, we'll go in order. And so next month we will talk about funding. And I already have a couple of folks that's going to do a little mini panel for us. And we're going to talk about different ways, once you find this property, how you're going to fund it. Whether you're going to use just a traditional mortgage, or whether you're going to do hard money, private money, however you want to fund that, whether you're going to pull some funds out of maybe a self-directed IRA. There's all kinds of ways to fund the real estate once you find it. And then from there, we're just going to go right on down the line of the 6 Fs. From there, we're going to talk about, once you find it and once you fund it, how are you going to fix it? You know, what needs to be fixed? How do you determine how much needs to be done to it before you're going to either put it back on the market as a flip or put it out to hold as a rental? And then we're going to have a whole session on flipping and how much, what level of everything that you want to put into that, depending on what price point and what you purchased it for, and then what you're going to sell it for, what the comps are in the area, and how to determine at what level you want to put finishes in that property to flip it. And then we're going to go on after that and talk about how to fill it. If you've decided you're going to buy it and hold it, then we're going to talk about how you have an open house and how you do the background checks and how you do determine who your renter is going to be. And then finally, we're going to talk about, once you learn all of that, how many of those do you need to do to have your freedom number to where you can actually quit your job? And again, it's not as much as you think.
And keep promising that.
Yes. Well, I'll give you a little hint. Here's the hint. The hint is the rule of thumb in Central Ohio, and it's different in different areas, but in Central Ohio, the rule of thumb is that you can pretty much cash flow $500 out of your property each month. So if you need $2,000 a month to quit your job, you need 4 units. If you need $3,000, you need 6 units. So you're looking at a very doable, I mean, Stephanie, and again, I've got you on mute, but Stephanie, how about one of our Happy House Hunter masterminds found a property outside of Columbus, and am I correct that it's a 4-plex? And he's done his, you're on mute, sorry, unmute yourself. There you go.
Am I on mute now?
Yep, we got you now.
I want to say that it's one of the most phenomenal niches I've ever seen a new person come up with. 2 young men in our group, Kathy's group, they decided to start perusing property on the outer limits of, Columbus is one of the best places to live. It's an extremely wonderful area and hot. The real estate market's hot. The profit margins are unbelievable. The ability to buy, the average price per home is very high for the Midwest. They decided to look on the outskirts of town. Out of nowhere, they sent me a property that was a 4-plex that looked like a barn-style beige siding home that is rented out all 4 pieces. And it's in a town, I'm sure it's no problem if I say where it is. It's in Frazeysburg. Very beautiful, lovely, nice, calm drive on a 2-lane highway past the Longaberger Basket near a lot of state parks. And this property, shock of all shocks, unbelievable. It looks so good in the pictures. I was like, oh my gosh, we better get there. Yesterday, we got there within hours. It had just been listed. You either be first or you be last. It's the only 2 ways you're going to get it. I'll tell you right now. And it was $89,000. And right now, the current rents, it's $1,780, just so you're aware. The current rents are $1,780 a month currently, and the rents are way too low for the units. Now, I'm not saying to go in and gouge some renters on their rental amounts. That's not what I'm saying. But we knew that we could see it and go in. A basement was a completely beautiful dugout with really great utilities. The structure itself in excellent condition. What happens, guys, is you go into a property and you're pleasantly disappointed when it looks not so great. It looks better in the pictures. This place is unbelievable. And I'm super emotional and I have a lot of adjectives, but I tell it like it is. And this property is a diamond in the rough. We put an offer in at $90,000 with an escalation clause. I can explain that at another time. And we won the bid, got the property, had it inspected for informational purposes only, buying it as is. The place is so incredible. There's almost nothing to do. It's insane. Guess why it didn't sell? Let me tell you guys why when it went on the market and the price. And there was other interest and there were other showings. It's a small town and it's about it ended up being, Kathy, about between 45 minutes away and an hour, depending on where you're coming from. Super lovely drive. Yes, close to Zanesville. That's absolutely right. And these young men are going to be owning this property now. We're past everything. We're waiting to close. Appraisal is the last step. There's going to be no problem. The renters are great. They plan to stay. It's such a seamless effort. And since Kathy did bring up that they brought it from out of town, guess what these kids found today? Found a property that we were able to secure. We're going to go see it on Thursday of this week. It's out of town. It's in a town called West Lafayette, Ohio. I'm about to just blow everyone's minds right now. And when my mind is blown, that means you all can just follow suit because it's accurate. This is 2 houses, a 2-story home and a ranch style home, both in excellent condition, brand new paint, flooring, newer siding, windows, and roof. I'm going to tell you the house of these 2 homes right now. They're both rented, occupied with rents. The property for these 2 houses is $199. However, the rents will cover the mortgage for these 2 properties. There's 50 storage units behind it that come with it. 50 storage units behind it. Swear. It's such a shocking deal. And 60+% of the storage units are rented out. I know how much all the rents are. I know the condition of everything. I'm going to put it to you this way. Guess what? It's very unfortunate, but the owner passed away. His son doesn't want to deal with it anymore. The small town, nobody wants to buy it. So, yeah, they're looking on the outskirts of town. Now that one's a little further, depending on where you're coming from in Columbus, it's about an hour and 15 away, depending on where you're coming from. It's been on the market, guys, 48 days today. It's the deal of the century. 50 storage units. I can't even begin to describe it to you. 10 of them are 10 by 20, then they're 10 by 10. I could go on and on. These boys are picking up a niche, and the niche is looking on the outskirts of the populous area of Columbus. It's working for them. It's shocking. Yeah, I'm really impressed by their wherewithal and their thinking outside the box. I'm really impressed with it.
Now, here's what I'm here to tell you is that they only need 4 of these, and both of them can quit their day jobs. Yeah, it's not as many as you think.
Yeah.
Question.
And no matter what age we all are, no matter what, any age is the perfect age to start. Perfect age to start.
Can I share my freedom number? Is that all right?
Sure. Absolutely.
I actually only need 2 houses right now. 2 of my Columbus houses. That's only less than $1,000. So it blew my mind at how fast I can get to that number. Now that's minimal stuff, and that's
Right.
with my wife's insurance, which she's a public school teacher.
But that's your personal freedom number, which is what you're after. Exactly.
But it blew my mind at how easy it was. I could have that next year.
Yes.
That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal, Chris. That's great. And you're not trying to be some millionaire or live outside your means. But guess what, guys? What comes around goes around. And when you do the right thing, when you're in a financial position of any type of an income that is commission driven or it's variable, your income is variable, or a sales type job and buying property for all these things, the money will fall into place. When you operate the right way, you do the right thing, you're good to your renters, you do clean transactions, you deal ethically and honestly. Kathy and I both feel this way tenfold. And Chris, you're a perfect example, Chris, that you have a realistic number in mind. You're going to replace your income. You only need the small amount still to get to where you want to go. But Chris, you're exactly like Kathy and I, and it's all going to fall into place. And Chris, you're going to be one of those people, I can tell you right now, you're going to be one of those people, Kathy and I see it. You're going to accumulate property, you're going to have income, and you might end up making a lot more money than you ever dreamed.
I hope that's true.
That is true. Because if only 2 properties meet your freedom number, imagine what you'll be like with 4.
Yeah, I actually broke it all the way out if I had a perfect world. And I sent my kids to private school and everything. It's not,
good for you.
It's not that many houses. It's 12.
Good for you. I'm excited for all of you to see Chris's property this Friday. I'm excited for you to see such an expansive, gorgeous property on a 1/4 acre lot. Chris was able to get an incredible number. His ROI is going to be very good on this property. Great condition all the way around. He really stepped into, he had a good eye. When you guys have a good eye, I'm impressed. So I'm excited for all of you to see Chris this Friday.
And that's what the mastermind group is about. It's so, and Chris, I'm going to call on you one more time.
Yep.
If you look at enough properties, all of a sudden, you know, when you see a good one. Chris, how many did you look at?
So I looked on the outskirts of Columbus, and I was looking at Springfield, and I probably looked at 40 to 50 properties on my paternity leave. And I was thinking about a couple of them, and then this property came on the market, and I was like, Stephanie, I'm going to go take a look at this after work, and if I like it, we're going to put an offer in.
Because you knew it was a good one.
Yeah, I just knew it right away.
Yeah, and that's the key.
Yep.
That's
I wasn't
the key.
even allowed to look inside of the house. You just know it. You'll know it when you know it. I'm sure that was coming out of your mouth.
and you just have to look at enough properties that when you finally find a good one, you just know. We've bought several that we've never been in. Several of our properties we never went inside.
Great point, Kathy. That is an excellent point. Please continue. Great point.
Yeah, we knew that the bones were good. We knew that structurally it was good, and we didn't care what the inside looked like because we were going to rehab it anyway. And so we closed on several without ever being inside. Yeah, so that you know when it's a good one once you see enough properties, and that's what the Happy House Hunters Mastermind does for you. One person asked, and I forget who, it was in the chat. They wanted to know where did they find the schedule, the meetups, the masterminds. All of that is on my interactive calendar at kathybinner.com. You can scroll down the home page to the calendar, or you can actually go to the link at the top, the menu at the top, and go down to the calendar. But once you get on the calendar, it has all of the information there on an actual interactive calendar. So when you click on it, the link to the Zoom calls takes you right into the call. And then the day after the call, I then take the link out and put the actual recording link in so that you can listen to the recording if you'd like to do that. And then what you don't see on that yet is in the middle of this month, we're going to launch a membership site where all of that will be held in one place. And then if you're in the mastermind group, you simply go to the membership site and everything's going to be there. The forms, there's a course called the 6 F's of Real Estate. There's all the forms that you need if you're going to buy and hold. And it also has all of these meetings will be listed there, the recordings, and also all of the mastermind will be there. So it'll all be in one place on one platform. And that's coming mid-July. I worked on it some today since I had such a busy day with 2 phone calls this morning.
Oh, great. The link.
Perfect.
That's good. Thanks,
Yep,
Chris.
Chris put the link. Thank you, Chris. He put the link in the chat. All right, with that, we're going to ask for any last questions before we go around, comments, questions, whatever, and I think we'll sign off then until Friday. And we want, if you haven't joined the mastermind, that's okay. Please tap in and join us if you want to see what it's like. You're welcome to come and visit the mastermind group a few times before you join. So feel free to tap in and see if you like it. Okay, any questions, any comments?
Thank you very much, Kathy.
Thank you.
Okay.
And Stephanie.
Thank you.
And Stephanie.
Good to see everyone. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. I couldn't find the button there. Thank you. It was very good.
Yes, thank
Bye-bye.
you.